Imagine being humiliated at the airport by someone who thought you were beneath them, just because of your skin color. Now imagine that same person realizing too late that you're the one who holds the power to shut down the entire airline. That's exactly what happened when a black girl, traveling alone and calm as a breeze, got her passport ripped up by a smug gate agent, not knowing she was the FAA inspector in deep disguise. What happens next will make your jaw drop. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful real-life, inspired stories that flip the script and leave injustice shaking in its boots. Now, here's the full story. It was a quiet Tuesday morning at Heathrow Airport, the international hub bustling with early travelers clinging to coffee cups and suitcases, each person carrying stories and destinies of their own. Among them stood a poised young black woman named Amira Lane, clad in jeans, a loose hoodie, and sneakers. Her natural curls tucked under a beige beanie, calmly waiting in line at Gate 43 for a flight to Atlanta. She looked ordinary, unassuming, just another face in the crowd. No one knew this 29-year-old was actually the FAA's youngest ever senior safety inspector, traveling incognito after receiving a slew of anonymous tips that this particular airline or Sky Airways was violating federal guidelines, harassing passengers of color, and even tampering with paperwork. What was supposed to be a routine surveillance flight was about to spiral into a full-blown exposure scandal. But things didn't start with fanfare. They started with arrogance. Because standing at the gate was Heather Malone, a bleach blonde gate agent with a power complex and a nose turned high enough to touch the clouds. As Amira stepped forward with her boarding pass and passport in hand, Heather barely looked up before narrowing her eyes and curling her lips into a smug smile. "Where's the real passenger? This ticket isn't yours," she scoffed. Amira blinked slowly, keeping her composure. "It's mine, Amira Lane. Seat 4. Heather grabbed the passport, scoffing loudly enough for the people behind to hear. "Oh, I see. Must have bought it with someone else's card. Or maybe got it on a diversity quota." Her coworker, a timid man named Jared, winced at the comment, but said nothing. Amira, voice level, replied, "You're violating FAA Code 14 CFR Section 382.11. Heather paused, confused, but quickly smirked again. "You're quoting FAA codes now? Cute. Maybe you should learn how to fly before pretending you belong in first class." And then right in front of everyone, Heather tore the passport clean in half. Gasps echoed. Phones started recording. Amira stared at the pieces fluttering to the ground. Her silence was chilling. She picked up the halves, placed them in her pocket, and without raising her voice, said, "You'll regret that." Heather laughed. "Oh, really? You gonna call your Instagram followers?" She didn't know the FAA inspector badge tucked inside Amira's hoodie. She didn't know that 3 undercover federal auditors were already on board, watching staff interactions. And she definitely didn't know that Amira was empowered to shut down the entire operation with one report. What followed was an unraveling like no one expected. Exploded within hours. Amira made no scene. Instead, she asked politely to speak to a supervisor. When none were available, she walked away and disappeared. Heather, gloating, went on to brag to Jared that some people need to be shown their place. But 30 minutes into the flight's boarding delay, Jared got a call that made his hands shake. It was from Central Command. "Where's the FAA contact?" the voice asked. Jared stammered. "FAA." The voice said coldly, "There's an inspector on board. Your gate crew just made contact. Tell your staff to cooperate fully." Jared's face went pale. Meanwhile, Amira was already in a private airport lounge, connecting with her colleagues. Surveillance footage from the gate had already been reviewed. Heather's face was now flagged across the FAA's internal watch list. News of the incident broke online. A young black woman's passport torn, denied boarding for not looking the part. Videos flooded TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter. Hashtags. Trended hashtag flying while black, hashtag justice for Amira, hashtag ground Heather. By the next morning, Iron Sky Airways stock had dropped 17%. Heather's name was leaked, and with it, dozens of prior complaints suddenly emerged. Former passengers came forward with horror stories. A woman forced to check her child's asthma medication. A black veteran accused of forging his ID. Amira, keeping herself out of the spotlight, submitted a full report backed by 5 separate FAA agents. The recommendation: immediate 30-day suspension of Iron Sky's boarding privileges at 3 major airports. The consequences landed harder than anyone expected. Executives at Iron Sky panicked. The CEO tried calling in favors, but Amira had documented everything. And when the airline finally offered a private apology and a generous financial settlement, Amira declined. She didn't want money. She wanted change. At a nationally televised press conference, Amira stood calmly before a sea of cameras, no longer hiding. "This wasn't just about me," she said, holding the repaired remains of her passport. "It's about every traveler who's ever been made to feel small, suspicious, or unworthy because of how they look." The skies belong to everyone. The crowd erupted. Heather. She was fired, permanently blacklisted from airport employment, and under federal review for discriminatory behavior. Iron Sky was fined $22 million and ordered to retrain every single employee under a new FAA inclusion protocol designed by Amira herself. The best twist? That passport Heather ripped. It was a decoy. The real one, perfectly intact, sat in Amira's travel pouch the whole time because she knew, from the moment Heather looked her up and down, that this was the exact kind of storm she came prepared to weather. So next time someone assumes you're a nobody, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the quietest one, and sometimes they carry the full weight of justice in their pocket. Why?